Welcome to the Jarvis Sam Show. Today I am joined, as always, by Bread Tuck Rob, Christopher Robinson. Say what's up to the people, Chris.
What up, y'all?
And then today we have a special guest. We have Najaah Rashed. She is an entrepreneur, and she'll tell you all about herself. But Najaah, say what's up to the people.
Hey, what's going on? How's everyone? Thank you for joining.
Yes. How you been, Najaah?
Oh man, I've been so good. I've been better than I deserve, to be honest with you. Just really being able to focus and like we were talking a little bit before the podcast started, I've just been on this trajectory that has just been amazing. Started at the end of 2020, like getting just everything together, getting my mind right, getting my body right, learning myself more, learning about what I need to do on my journey, and just been really, really laser focused on what I got going on for 2021. So I'm super excited.
Man, that's what's up. Chris, you good over there?
Man, I'm out here, man. I'm living life, man. I'm hearing my partner Najaah say she learning herself, and I got a question: like, how do you learn yourself?
Well,
like, what is that process like?
Man, so sharing with the people, ladies don't really tell their age, but I am about to be 40 in June.
Say what?
Yes. So 1981, right here. 1981 was that year, y'all. A star was born. Hey. But it's getting to the point where it's like you start figuring things out a little bit more, and you start taking inventory of your life, your relationships, whether that be personal, or the friendships, business ships, courtships, whatever ships, right? You're looking at all the ships. And you're like, okay, did this ship sail my way? Did this ship sail out? Should this ship have sailed? Like, what am I doing? Taking inventory of your life. Like, who's in my life? Why are they there? Should they be there? Are they having value? Stuff like that. And then figuring out who is bringing you the energy that you don't need, who's blocking your blessings. Sometimes it's you. Sometimes you're blocking your sabotaging yourself. You know what I'm saying? Just really being candid and honest about who you are, what you want to do, where you're falling short, and why you're falling short. And just really having that conversation like, okay, you said you wanted to do XYZ by this date or whatever. What have you done to get in that direction? What have you learned? And just like really, I don't want to say beating yourself up, but just having real conversations. It's to the point where it's like, okay, the gloves got to come off. You can't just be, nice to people and keeping them around for no reason. People are anchors. You got to cut the dead weight. Just like stuff like that. Just really taking inventory. Hey, family is family. They're always going to be there. You're born with them. You die with them. But that doesn't mean that you have to put them on your daily journey. Like really just being around people that you need to be around. If you're not, finding those people. But if you can't, what's wrong with you that you can't be in those spaces? What do you need to learn more? What do you need to grow more? Like where are you falling short that you can't have the conversation with the financiers and you're feeling uncomfortable? Where are you falling short where you can't have the conversation with the health juggernauts? Like what, you don't know what a macro is. Okay, learn that. Just really talking to myself like, hey, there is no reason that I cannot level up in every single part of my life that I feel is important. So then you got to figure out, well, what do I feel is important to me at this moment? So just really learning yourself, listening to yourself, being still when you need to be still, moving fast when you need to move fast, and just fighting for it. Because it's like, man, we saw 2020, we saw COVID, took so many people out. They didn't know that it was, you know what I'm saying? You don't know. So it's just like, hey, I don't have time to be playing these games. I'm in a race. This is a sprint. You know what I mean? So just like leveling up quickly. And at this point, at this age, just knowing the importance of paying for services, paying for somebody to teach me Spanish, paying for somebody to teach me like I'm about to go take the LSAT, paying for somebody to give me the prep, paying for somebody to get my business in order, get my finances in order, just paying for experts to do this because I ain't got time. I'm in a sprint. You know what I'm saying? So just having the maturity to know I can't know everything. I want to know enough about what I need to know, and then I need to have that paper to get them experts to get me right. So just really learning that, it took me a while because I'm just like one of those people that like to do it my own. I'll go read a book on something or read 3 books and then I'll start to do it. But I'm like, by the time I read them 3 books, I could have paid somebody for the knowledge. You know what I'm saying? It's just doing things smarter.
And you said a lot already, but tell the people just a little bit about yourself, like who you are and kind of what you do, and like who is Najaah Rashed?
Yeah, so I'm an entrepreneur. So I own a driving school called iTeachDrive. It's here in Houston. And so I started off in insurance. That was the baseline of what I was doing. So insurance sales, I have on my licenses, and then my adjustment licenses. So when people get in an accident, I'll go out to the scene, do their, write their cars up for the estimate, work with the body shop, talk to their lawyers, give them their checks, that type of thing. But what I learned was a lot of people didn't get driver education and look like us. So being in that space, and the more I went up and up and up and up on the corporate scale for insurance, I'm looking like, okay, these are teenagers, they are perishing in these accidents because they just didn't have simple driver education. And driver education is pretty expensive. So when I was young, I don't know about y'all, I don't know who taught you how to drive, but my mom taught me how to drive. We didn't have to pay for that though. Now here in Texas, even if you're going to teach your child how to drive, you still have to pay.
Oh wow! Whoa! Wait a minute. Let me ask a question about that, because my dad sent me to a driving school. He taught me how to drive on a stick, so I could drive a stick. Pause. But he also sent me to a driving school, and of course he had to pay like $250 or whatever the price would have been. What is the price for a parent teaching his or her child how to drive?
So for parent taught, the first thing you need to do, you got to pay $20 for DPS to say, okay, you're qualified to teach a student. So that's $20. Then they have to do at least an online course. So if they're going to do the online course, at least that's 32 hours of classroom equivalency. So that's going to cost you between $125, maybe $145 for that course.
What?
If you put them in a classroom at a traditional driving school, like I have an online course, but I also have a traditional classroom setting, that's going to cost you about $450-ish. And then we still got to do the in-car driving. So that's a whole nother 14 hours of the in-car driving. So my in-car driving contract is about $350. Then I also give the DPS road test. So the DPS road test, that's going to cost you, if you want to take it with a third party, you can take it to DPS for free. However, because they're so backlogged, you might want to take the test tomorrow, but you may not get in to take it till, I don't know, what's this, February? So you might be looking at May or something like that. So just try explaining that to your 16-year-old. So you can call me and I can do it for you the same day. So that's a cost involved in that as well. So from my vantage point, I can do everything from A to Z for driver education. But what I learned is, just like with everything, it costs, and people, they either don't see the value in it or they just can't pay for it. So our kids will end up driving. You'll see a 16, 17 or 18-year-old, 19-year-old. I had sophomores at Prairie View call me. They don't have driver's licenses. They know how to drive, but they don't have the credentials. And so it puts them behind the 8 ball, because what happens is you'll get pulled over. You don't have a license. You likely don't have insurance. And then now you get insurance points, which is going to follow you for a while. And by the time you try to get insurance, you can't really afford it. And it's just like everything else. I mean, we're behind just before we even get started. So what I wanted to do is create a program that is geared towards those children, children in general, but that was my main goal and focus. And so what I've learned is that because I'm so good at what I do, I'm in the Cypress area. So my Cypress parents are like, they got the network going. They got me on the Facebook and all of that stuff. So like all my traditional my Cypress soccer moms is bogging me down. Well, they can pay, upfront and full for 3 kids at a time. Like, okay, no, we need you. Your name is out there. And I'm so blessed because I do what I do so well. But then I'm looking at it at this point, we're like, okay, my other kids who I'm like, really, this is what I started for them, just because they needed, the need was so there. They may only be able to pay $25 at a time, $50 at a time. Or, you know what I mean? They might need a ride to the DPS, stuff like that. And so I'm at the point where my business is booming, is thriving, but I know that I need to grow this thing quickly and I need help to do that. But so that's where I am. Just really grinding out here. iTeachDrive started with driver education, but we're at a pivotal moment to where I want to pivot this thing into so much more for teens. They have nowhere to go. They have nothing to do. They're 15, 16. They might have a driver's license. They can't get in anywhere. They're hanging out at Whataburger. You know what I mean? And so I've always wanted iTeachDrive to be much more because like, drive. How can I get them moving in the right direction, wanting to do something more or showing them a little bit more? So that's where I am. And that's a little bit about our story. So we're at a pivotal moment at this point where when you first start a business, normally you're like, okay, can I just replace my income at my corporate job? Well, of course, I've been able to do that. And then you're like, okay, can I double my income? No sweat. Now I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, this thing has a real purpose for me. And so it's getting to the purpose is where I am. And that's going to be the tough part.
So I heard you say you wanted to replace your corporate income and then you wanted to double your corporate income and all that. So I'm sure to the people out there who are aspiring entrepreneurs, what steps did you take to how did it get started? Like, what did you need to do to get your business started?
Well, so for me, I did it. I did it out of my own pocket. So what I would do is I looked at my expenses and I would say, okay, what can I cut? And so I decided like that year when I was like, okay, I'm going to really start this business, I stopped drinking because what I was noticing was like when I would go out to dinner, my martini or my margarita bill was just as high as my entree or higher. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So that was an easy cut for me. I started just stop going to the nail salon, stop like little things that I didn't have to do so that I can bankroll my business. So the first thing that I had to do was get licenses. So in this business, it's very serious. You got to get state licenses to do what we do. We're talking about people's livelihoods, their children. It's serious. So the licensing cost me a couple $1,000s to get that done, but it's a long process. And so what I tell people is if whatever industry you want to be in, do your research and make sure that you know that those upfront licensing fees and stuff like that, they have to be done upfront. So you have to kind of account for that. But with this industry that we're in, it's a very small knit community. And so I had a lot of challenges just having somebody teach me the game because the state won't do it. So you have to find a local driving school that will actually give you the instruction to get the license. Well, who wants to teach their competition? You know what I'm saying? And it was nobody in the industry that looked like me that I could find. And we're in Houston. So I had to drive all the way down to Pasadena, which is about, from where I'm from, would take me maybe about an hour to get there. And I had to do that for like 6 months just to go down there, because this lady, she was retiring. So she didn't care. She just, was like, whatever, I'll teach you. So I was able to find that. Outside of that, I had to set up my classroom space. I had to get my car. I had to get my car outfitted because it's driver education. So all of that was cost, right? If I would have known then what I know now, I would have never took that risk and took it out of my own pocket. I would have definitely looked for funding. So that's one of the things that most entrepreneurs kind of overlook, is that we're like, okay, yeah, we want to get it. We want to get it on our own. We don't want no debt. Da, 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 da. Mistake. Go get it with somebody else's money. Don't bankroll this thing on your own if you don't have to. Now, of course, you're going to run into some challenges sometimes with traditional lending, but if you can get funding, I would urge anybody to get funding, because you run into the thing where, like, we had to spend 3 months rent. We had to get all of our desk, our classroom. Like, you've been to our space before, and that costs money just to get an inspection for the state to say yay or nay, you can go into business. You see what I'm saying? So we're looking at maybe 10, 15,000 before we can even make $1, and you can't even advertise. So all of those things was something that I kind of just muddled through along the way. Didn't really know, but what I knew is that I wanted to make a difference, and I wanted to start this business. So I was going to do it whether I was going to go into debt or not. I don't think that's always the best mindset, though. So if I had to do it over again, more research on how to get funding is something that I would have looked more into.
You know what, Jarvis? Let me say this real quick, man. Najaah, I heard you say, instead of knowing what you know now, instead of coming out of your pocket, you would have got funding. And I'm big on crowdfunding. Your GoFundMe's, your Indigo .com or .net, whatever it is, because and a lot of times, depending on how your mindset is, those can have negative connotations, because people say, man, I don't want to be out here begging. But it just depends on how you look at it. If I see Najaah, okay, if Najaah, if you say, hey, look, I'm trying to raise money to start my driving school. I need $15,000. I don't want to pay out of pocket for it, but I'm willing to put in the grind. Here is my plan on how I go about allocating the money. And I look at that, and I'm talking about a person who thinks like me. I would say, man, you know what? And this is even if I don't know you. Let's just say I don't know you, Najaah. I would look at that and I would say, man, this sister is trying to create a business for herself. Not only that, she's trying to take care of our children when it comes to driving. So I could send my daughter to drive with somebody who looks like her and who actually owns the business. I got $100 to put in the GoFundMe towards that. And hopefully other people who think like myself would also contribute to that. And let's say you don't reach the 15,000. Hey, if we get you to 8,000, man, you can figure out the other 7,000. It's not as big as as an obstacle as it was in the beginning. So I'm big on crowdfunding.
Absolutely. I would 100% agree with that. A lot of the crowdfunding that's out there right now that I kind of been looking at, is not as organic as what you just described. I believe in what you just talked about, though. I think that being able to grow something grassroots and organically for your community, and then just kind of have it build out from there, would be ideal and stellar. A lot of the crowdfunding that's out there right now is really people just looking to make a turn on an investment, which I ain't mad at them. But then you, as a business owner, you have to really take into account that, hey, I mean, I know I'm going to grind it out. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, but I've never ran this business before. So will it work? I hope so. But if I'm taking these people's money who's expecting a return on an investment, that could be a risky strategy. So but I feel you with the GoFundMe and the people who's just doing it for getting our people off the ground in entrepreneurship. And then of course you always pay it forward or you pay it back, right? So the person who's opened the business and thriving and doing this, now you putting into the pot for the next business owner, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's like the gist of group economics, right? So like that's where we want to be. And so, but thinking about your statement of people who think like me, that's what I'm talking about, like leveling up and just stop wasting your time with people who aren't on that trajectory. People who don't think like you, or having those empty debates trying to get people there. Like either you think like this or you don't. Either we the same or we not. Like I still love you, but deuces, I gotta move on. And then just surrounding yourself with those people in those spaces is key. It's clutch. So when I'm in a car with these kids, I'm telling them like, hey, what's on your mind today? We talking about stuff. I'm taking them to the black hair product lady. Like, oh, you don't have to go to the Asian store. I know a lady up the street. She own a hair store. You gotta get your hair braided. You know, we get a 10-minute break. You want to go to the hair store? Hey, have you ever been to this restaurant? You know, so and so owns it. He's black, whatever. You want to go? We'll go. We'll hit the drive-through. Like we have those meaningful excursions, conversations, thoughts. I talk to them about what do you want to be, and I connect them. Like, oh, you want to be a doctor? I have a really good friend. She's an emergency room doctor, and I'll connect them with her. I'll connect them. You know what I'm saying? Just having those meaningful conversations to be that go-between so that they know, like, hey, I got your back. I want you to be safe in this car, but I got your back for life. And that's invaluable. To be able to pour into somebody's kid and like really put them on a path or really let them know, like, hey, you can do this. We can do this together. You know, so it's a big mission. I don't take it lightly, but I'm so happy to be in this space at this point. You know, but we've been in business for what's this 2021, so about 5 years now. So we've had our fumbles. You know what I'm saying? I've had the huge, wonderful space that I'm paying $2,300 a month for, when I could have a smaller space paying a fraction of that and really investing back into my business. You know what I'm saying? Like just, I don't want to say throwing away money, but giving money to marketing funds that didn't pan out to anything. When really I could have just spent all of that time and energy into my social media and probably just did the same thing. So just really fumbling the ball, but not dropping it, but learning along the way. And sometimes those lessons can be expensive. A lot of people go out of business because of those expensive lessons, but we've been able to just really still be on the track, still learn, grow, and still be booming because I think it also depends on what industry you pick to. You have to have driver education. Everybody has to have driver education. So it's almost like having a funeral home, right? Like everybody died. Everybody has to get a driver's license. So even when you feel like you're on your last, you might get 3 phone calls and get $1,500 that day just from that. You know what I'm saying? So it's a great business to be a part of. I do wish that more people that look like us was a part of this industry. And so that's one of my paths that I want to go through to get this up and running and, you know, bringing people along on this driver education journey, because it can be a beautiful thing.
So kind of in the vein of fumbling the ball, you know, I think a lot of people see entrepreneurs and they look at the success and they look at, oh, they got lucky. Oh, their number got called, whatever. And they see, you know, the success because, of course, on social media, we post the highlights. We post what we're doing great. But really and truly, there's a lot of struggles and a lot of fumbles that come along the way. What would you say is the biggest struggle you had along the way that you'd want to share with the people?
Man, it's really, I got two. My number one is the overhead. When you go into something and you want to make it your own, right? So it has to represent you. And I'm one of those people that I'm like, I want it to look nice, right? So I want the nice floors. I want the this, I want the that, or whatever. I want the bigger space. I'll just pay for it or whatever. Well, 30 days come quick. Like that 30-day cycle is vicious. And so when you're looking at a huge overhead, that's not a good look. You know what I'm saying? So making that mistake was something that I really struggled. I mean, we made it work, but it was like either the first year, it wasn't like I have a business. It was just like, all right, I'm on a job. You know what I'm saying? Like every dollar counted. Every little thing counted. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm bill collector. I'm like sending the invoice. Like, no, I can't. I'm holding people's paperwork. Like, you got to pay this balance because I got to make sure these license codes. You know what I'm saying? Like that stuff. And so I had the beautiful space and the beautiful look. It was gorgeous or whatever, but this overhead is out the wazoo. So, it got to make sense. The look of it was beautiful, but it got to make sense. So I want to say not having that super duper solid blueprint. Like people tend to overlook the hard work that should come on the front end. So you having that business plan is clutch. You got to have that business plan tight. And a lot of people just want to jump into it and like, oh, I'll just figure it out. Yeah, you're going to figure it out, but you're going to pay that swim tax. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm just going to be head above water. Like, that thing. Instead of like really taking the time and eating the pie crust first. You know what I'm saying? Like they say, if you eat the pie crust first, that's the unpleasant part, right? So you get past that part and then you get to the good stuff. So really taking the time for that business plan is one thing that I feel like was really, we had one. It was, you know what I'm saying, a loose little blueprint, but it wasn't like it is now. It wasn't like, you know what I'm saying, we know where every single dollar, this is how much this dollar is made. You know what I'm saying? It's not like that. You got accounting and fuel. You running around the city, wear and tear on the car, insurance costs, all of that, those intangibles. You know what I'm saying? So that was one. So, I mean, that's my number one. Make sure your business plan is tight. If you don't know how to write a business plan, go get somebody to write the business plan for you. There's a lot of free resources that'll help you to do that. And then the second thing, I would say being afraid to hire people. As an entrepreneur, you know how you want stuff to look. You know how you want your paperwork to look. You know how you want your experience for your customer to be, right? So you rather do it yourself to make sure everything is perfect. But you fumbling the ball because you have to be able to duplicate yourself. And you have to understand that you need to be diligent in who you hire, but you need to be okay with letting people go. You can't waste time with people, have them around forever. They're not working out, right? But you can't just fall in love with people so quickly either, to where you're bringing them into your organization and now it ain't right. So that being able to build a team is a skill set a lot of people don't have. And so if you don't have the skill set, take the time, spend the money, and get your team built properly.
You know what, Najaah? Let me ask you this. Do you know that you're going to take an L on certain people that you hire? Because let me ask you this, Najaah. You don't know me, okay? You don't know me.
Right.
iTeachDrive is something that you built. This is your vision. You see where it's going. I'm just some cat that needs to make however many dollars an hour. So you hire me. I don't care that there's trash. There's a sheet of paper on the floor or something. I'm just here to work my time and go home. But you, like you said, hey, excuse me. You know, I want to make sure the experience is great. So if there's a piece of trash on the floor, I'm picking that up. I'm throwing it away. I'm greeting everybody that may come in or whatever goes with iTeachDrive. But a cat like me who's just, man, I'm here to just make my whatever an hour and be out. Do you know that you're going to take an L on these people? And is that already accounted for in your business plan or within your budget?
Absolutely. So, Andre is a co-owner of iTeachDrive. That's my husband. But he calls it spoilage because he was in the club business. So he basically, the way he explained it to me, which made it make sense to me, is that you should already know that you're going to lose about 20% off of your bottle off top. So say you got one bottle of Ciroc. You already know that you're about to get cheated out of at least 20% of this bottle off top. Period. So it's spoilage. So you account for spoilage. So I might know that, hey, I might pour into somebody. I might have to pay somebody for a month for me to get rid of them, to figure out they won't answer my phones right, or you know what I'm saying, I don't like the way they're talking to the customer, or they're not taking it seriously, or I might hire them, they might not show up in the next 3 days, and it's excuses and stuff like that. So you definitely need to take that into account when you're talking about operating expenses. And in the operating expenses, that's where your personnel is. That's where your employees are. That's where your people are. So we have taken into account for that. I will tell you this though. I think resumes are important. I do think experiences are important, but I also think that somebody's character and energy is huge, especially when you're in a business dealing with children, because children will call you out. You know what I'm saying? They know energies. They, know when somebody ain't right or whatever. And so that's what I really look for with a person. But I don't expect people to put their heart and soul into my business for free. And I don't expect people to take my business seriously and respectfully until I have to give them the buy-in. Like I have to buy them into that dream. I don't just want the hourly wage guy. I'd rather have somebody that wants to build and open his own iTeachDrive, so that I can pour into that person. So if I can figure it out to where like, hey, you can get 5% of everything you sell and your hourly, I'd rather do that, because now I know he knows that he's invested in the situation. You know what I'm saying? Hey, what are your dreams and goals? Do you want to run one of these? I can get you one. Just give me 30%, 20%, whatever. You take the rest and run your own. Those are the people that I'm looking for. I'm looking for a movement, not just the little plug and play, like just servant people get it done. I can go to gig.com for that. That's not what I want. I'm looking for people that will grow into this thing, because we want to have an iTeachDrive servicing every single high school in Harris County.
Yeah, I've always had this rule of thumb. Like when I was hiring like a direct report of mine, I always hire slow and fire fast. So if there's an opening, a lot of times when you have an opening, you're trying to get somebody in quick, and you're just the first person with a good resume and this and that. You can't do that. You gotta really see what's out there. You gotta get the best available player, because if not, you're gonna be struggling, because it's a lot easier to hire somebody than it is to fire somebody, especially like in a corporate type setting.
Absolutely. They hit you with that unemployment call.
So you really have to make sure there's one thing corporate America has taught me is how to hire the right person, because the wrong person can really be detrimental to what you're trying to do. And if they don't have that drive, if they don't have that the right mentality, if they're just here for that paycheck they get every 2 weeks, that's the level of work you're going to get from them, and you're not going to be satisfied with them, and it can be very frustrating, and it ends up being more work for you. Because you're having to constantly compensate for their shortcomings, things that they're not doing, constantly having to talk to them about things they're not doing, which is all just distractions from moving the business forward. So that's been a huge thing for me. Something else
they'll poison your whole all your other employees too. All of a sudden, all your people will turn on you. So I mean that's deep. That's detrimental. So having the good people, being able to recognize them, but being willing to invest in other people, and not on just an employee level, but just really developing people is something that I'm really big on. And so but at the same time, there was fear. There was fear, because this is like, am I getting the right people? Am I going to have the right people? But at the end of the day, it has to get done. And
I heard you say something earlier that you have to be able to replicate yourself, and that's so true, right? Because I think as a leader or as a business owner, like, it's so important that you're able to step back and really oversee things. But you can't oversee things if you're constantly being the one that's picking up the trash from the floor, constantly being the one that's doing all the little things like that. You can't focus on the bigger picture. You can't expand. So you got to have somebody that carries that weight for you, so that you can go on and take it to the next level. You can be marketing. You can be trying to find another building. You can be trying to corner the market in another way, but you can't do that if you're still working ground level doing something.
If I'm still in the, you know what I'm saying? I mean, somebody once said, the further you are away from the customer, the more money you make.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, at this point, it's like, all right, my customer should not have my cell phone number, right? I'm the owner. How you getting me on the phone? You know what I'm saying? Where's my soldiers? Like,
something should have went wrong if they got your number. Something should have really went wrong if they got your number.
If you got my number, we trying to bury. Something went wrong. We trying to bury it before the chronicle comes. This is the level that I need to be at, right? And so just but it's all about developing people. If you pour into people, listen to your people, see what they want, what are their dreams, what are their goals, help them get there and buy into the vision. People are going to follow you for the vision, right? So if you get the right people to buy into the vision, not try to stiff them, they see you driving a AMG and your husband driving a BMW and you got this plush house and they getting paid $10 an hour, and they're like, well, I mean, yeah, but what? No, like, take care of your people. I'm a very generous person, so I'm always about like, hey, I give you 5% for this, 10% for that. You want your own? Just give me a piece. Let me move on. So we're at the point where we want to get this thing up and moving, let it grow organically, have this huge sales force to do so. And then get our hands in a lot of different things. We talk about Buy Back the Block, and I was listening to this wonderful podcast. Y'all heard of the Earn Your Leisure guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I was listening to the Buy Back the Block episode earlier today. And I know that's one thing that we was talking about before, right? And so the episode was specifically with this investor who is revitalizing Fifth Ward here in Houston. So I was very interested. And it really got my wheels spinning. And I'm just like, man, we can be doing so much more. And I know I got a stellar team of people that's around me that we just need to come together. You know, you got this person here and that person there and that person there and that person there, but everybody is never in the same space.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's time for us to all be in the same space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So 2020 brought some challenges that no other year has ever brought to, especially to entrepreneurs or to businesses. So with COVID-19, like, how did you have to pivot as a business owner with COVID-19?
Well, with the beginning of COVID, it was just like, classroom just can't have a classroom, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to cancel that out. But the beauty of technology, everything got pushed to the online, right?
Okay.
So what I realized was that I was making just as much really and not having to sit in the classroom on a nightly basis. You know what I'm saying? My kids were getting their classroom equivalency or whatever, and it was great. So then I started doing Zoom classes, which was also wonderful because it kind of allowed me to do more of like a smaller class setting, but I can do them throughout the day instead of having that large class that I would have like maybe 2 hours in the evening. And so it ended up being wonderful. We shut down for until about June.
That's not
About
bad.
June. But we were still making money because we still had the online, but it was just the in-car driving and doing the road test is what we could have done it, but I just didn't feel comfortable with it.
Right.
Just that enclosed space. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But the wonderful thing about driver education, man, it's recession proof. People have to, they have to have licenses. They have to drive. So we did well. And then, you know, SBA came out, you got the PPP situation. So we were very fortunate that COVID did not put a damper or a hiccup or anything on our business. If anything, Jarvis, what it did was it really galvanized me to do more. You know what I'm saying? It made me like, okay, I really want to grow more. I want to have more in my portfolio. I want to have more businesses. I want to have more investments. And it was good because it let me kind of sit still a bit. Because I was just doing all that running. And just sit still a bit and just, you know, expand upon the plan. And get ready for the next chapter. And that's where we are now. So I hate that COVID happened. I had a couple family members that passed away from COVID. So it's devastating.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, hey, people, the winner's gonna win.
Yeah.
If you still on the ground, if you still, you know what I'm saying? If you still got air in your lungs, the winner's gonna win. It don't matter pandemic, presidential, I don't care who in the office, like the winner's gonna win. We gonna make it, we gonna find a way, we gonna get it. And so that's what I mean. It's really galvanized us to just be in grind mode. Like, no, we can't have that. Like looking at these people in the food lines and people losing their homes and businesses. It was devastating, but it made me want to move faster. So we were very fortunate to not have been super affected by COVID, really.
That's what's up. So I heard you say, you know, you got a lot of great people around you, but we're in different areas and everything. And it's great if we could all come together. What the people don't know is we did have like a couple of Avengers moments we had. We did a couple of events together, the True Ambition Collective. It was us three and another young lady who does her thing as well. And the last one we did was about rebuilding the Black Wall Street. And
shout out to Mr. Perry.
Listen, I was about to say his name. You beat me to the punch. Shout out to you, Najaah.
Why my brother just asked me literally last week, like, what happened to old boy? What are we supposed to be doing stuff for him?
Hey, why y'all tripping? I still got his number in my
I do
Please
phone,
too.
call
and I'm
him.
gonna shoot him a random text.
Please call him.
I'm gonna shoot him. I'm gonna shoot him
Hey, big head.
yeah.
Call him. Call him. Make sure he's still on the planet with us, because if he is, we need to go find him ASAP.
Absolutely.
That was crazy. That. But anyway, so the theme of this month for the podcast, I really want to focus on Black entrepreneurs and how we are the new Black Wall Street. So I just want to ask, and I'll shoot to you first, Chris. What does the Black Wall Street mean to you?
What does the Black Wall Street mean to me? It means financial liberation and inspiration. Excuse me. Let me explain that. We talked about this on a podcast maybe 2 podcasts ago. I have a brother, okay? Mm-hmm. My mother had 2 children. Yeah, mm-hmm. Me and my brother. My brother is currently, he's teaching, but he's flipping houses too. And he has 2 children. So once he masters that skill, he'll be able to pass that down to his children. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, I have a daughter. I'm building a brand. I'm stumbling into things and I'm figuring it out on the fly, but I'm building a brand. I'm building something that I could give to my daughter, or being a model, so that my daughter could see, okay, this is how I could do this because my dad is doing this. So within my own family, man, we're having these Black Wall Street moments, man. And we're raising the bar from what our mother taught us. And we're inspiring our children and letting them know that, hey, man, you don't have to go work for somebody else for 30 years. You can build if I have my own, if Chris has my own, Jarvis has his own, Najaah has her own, we can spend money with each other. That's Black Wall Street. We can circulate this money through here. When my daughter's ready to go to school, she's going to iTeachDrive. I don't care how far it is from the house.
When she need an internship, she need to come to iTeachDrive. But internship.
Not my baby wouldn't get that with the white folk driving school. When Jarvis has what he has going on, my daughter's going over there. Mm-hmm. That's Black Wall Street, man, where we spending that money around with each other. Of course, we're gonna spend money elsewhere too. But if Najaah has some services that I need, before me going outside of people who look like me, man, I'm gonna see what Najaah got, man. And you know what? You know what else is Black Wall Street? Me understanding that Najaah may not have the same prices as others because she doesn't get the same breaks as others. So I might have to pay a little more, but I'm okay because I know that money is going to a Black family, and I know that she has the heart to take that money and do something for her community, man. The woman just told you that she's looking out for our kids, letting them pay $25 a month when they don't have a full tuition. That's Black Wall Street to me, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice to talk about it.
Man, to me, it's just revitalizing our community, putting a life back into us, and understanding that your community comes first and foremost.
Yeah.
And with that being said, getting back to that group economics, man, is just like I feel like where we were able to build the Wall Street was because everybody had a helping hand in something. You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to have to build iTeachDrive alone. I will, but I don't want to have to. I would rather have an army that we say, all right, in the next 3 months, we about to get Jarvis's podcast popping. We got to get him up to 100,000, and we all put our energy into that. And then boom, Jarvis got that. Then we're like, all right, next, I got next. You're going to bring your energy over here, and we're going to rah, 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 and get this together. Boom. she's straight. Now we're gonna rah. You see what I'm saying? Just like moving as a collective to make sure everybody is eating, to make sure everybody is up and running, to make sure everybody is nurtured and together and just looking out for each other. That to me was the most beautiful part of that situation. Like I would walk down the street and here's my tax guy, and I would walk next door and this is where I get my donut, and I walk next door and this is the doctor I go to, and I walk next door and like, oh, I got to get some shoes. You know, homeboy across the street. This where we get the shoes. This where we do our teeth. This is where we eat. This, you know what I'm saying? Just keeping it in the community so that everybody thrives. One of the things that I learned today, it's just a nuance, but man, it blew me because we talk about buying back the block, and a lot of times we miss the mark. So we'll go into our communities and we'll talk to the people who has the homes there, and we'll buy up the homes, and then we'll put these beautiful homes or whatever, and we displace the residents.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of going and buy back the block to make sure that the residents are there, stay there. Make sure we're buying it back. We might want to do a little remodel so that they have a better, home, but making sure the rent stay low. We got to go live in those communities. We got to put our tax dollars into those schools, in those communities. And the residents that are there, we got to breathe life into them. We got to revitalize the people. Let them stay there with low rent so that whoever else is coming into the community don't come take their house, build this big high rise. Now can't nobody afford to live there. So buying back the block is more than just going to own the property, but it's revitalizing the neighborhood so that the people who are in that neighborhood can afford to stay there. And that's the spin and the nuance that I just got today. It literally sent chills. And I really felt like that came full circle. So, I mean, to me, that's what Black Wall Street is about.
That's good. I heard you say about the group economics where we get behind one thing and then we get behind the next thing and then we get behind this. I think that's where we truly lack. I think that's why we don't have a Black Wall Street on the level that we should, is because we lack the support. It's like we see somebody doing something and we kind of, they prices this, or I don't know about that. We find a reason not to support or not to support consistently. Or we do things out of convenience. We know, hey, I can go get a shirt at Walmart. Okay, so I won't go support, this underwear company that's Black that you can go find, right? Like we don't intentionally do that, and I think that's a huge struggle. So it's always something. So I think to your point earlier, we have to find like-minded people and then build networks from there, and then slowly start branching out until we start changing how others think, because sometimes it takes a movement to inspire other people to say this is the way, this is what we should really be doing. But it takes a certain number of people to kind of unionize and to start a movement enough for people to actually get behind. So man, I think that's important, because if we could support each other that's all Black Wall Street is. It's Blacks supporting Blacks, and Blacks monetizing their gifts and using that to provide a service or a good to whomever. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's that simple, but it takes support.
And knowing that it's not a competition. It's not we have been so, regimented into this capitalist society where it's like, you got to be self-made and I don't be self-made. Like, no self-made. Like, we make each other, we mold each other, we nurture each other, we build each other. So it's not a competition. Don't be afraid to link up with your people, because you feel like you're going to be outshined, or you feel like, you know what I'm saying, they may have more talent than you, so you're not going to help them, or you know what I'm saying, just little silly stuff where it's like, no, hey, if we got a Kobe right here, but he can't afford gym shoes, I'm not gonna be like, oh well, I'm gonna just nurture my son and maybe he can get up to Kobe's level. Like, no, this is a superstar right here. We're gonna nurture that one. We're gonna move as a unit. And I feel like we don't move as a unit. And that's what we need to figure out.
How to move as a unit.
You know what? My guy, Dame Dash, he talks about this thing amongst his friends called the circle of success, right? He says it's about 10 of them in there or whatnot. And he says if 9 of them has $1 million each and the 10th one doesn't have anything, if each one of the 9 gives them 100,000, gives that one person 100,000, everybody's back at 900,000. We all good. But it's the circle of success, though. We have to look out for each other. Najaah, that example that you just gave me, if we got a young man who's the next Kobe and he don't have no gym shoes, it shouldn't be Najaah just running out and getting them some gym shoes. Hey, Jarvis, you put in 20. I'm going to put in 20. Najaah put in 20. This man over here put in 20, and we could go get him some gym shoes. Or Najaah, you get him the gym shoes. I'm going to make sure his basketball fees are taken care of. Jarvis, you make sure you pay for his uniform. Man, we could come together and we could really bless the game of this cat, man. We got to look out for each other, man.
I mean, I would never forget Denzel Washington talking about how he anonymously paid for Chadwick Boseman's college fees. Like, can you imagine?
It's crazy.
And it was no skin off his back. He was already paper, but he just saw the potential and just was like, yeah, I'm going to pour into this person and just see what happens. You know what I mean? And that's why that's why I'm so happy to be in this space with these kids, because they're right in that moment. They're right on that fork in the road. They're going to go left or they're going to go right. They're going to believe in themselves or they're not. They're going to get into trouble or they're not. They're going to focus on school or they're not. They're going to become entrepreneurs or they're not. And 1 or 2 sentences can break them. 1 or 2, like, I don't think you should do that, can break them. You know what I mean? And it's just like, we need more people focused on this age group. We need more people focused on this age group, because these are the kids that's going to build that Wall Street. We're going to be the money, but they're going to be the builders. And if we don't show it to them now, they ain't going to get it. They're going to do like we did. You know what I'm saying? Run here, run there. Go buy the house on the hills. Go be with the Joneses. We want to be at Mar-a-Lago. We want to be in the Hamptons. We want, you know what I'm saying? Taking whatever. Because we didn't know. We know now. So really showing them that situation now is perfect. Having multiple business owners that they can be a mentee to. Like, hey, send your son over here to iTeachDrive to take out my trash. I'm going to send my daughter over there to file your paperwork. You know what I'm saying? Just so they can see, like, we work together. This is a collective. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So that's what I'm working on. That's what we got to get focused on. That's why I'm running the sprint. That has to happen.
Yeah. Chris, you got anything to ask or add to the conversation?
I want to say this. I remember something Najaah said, and it was about her starting her own business, having to pour in her own money. I just got to revisit that, man, because she said she buying all the desk and all that. If she could do it over again, she would look at other ways. I took the family to a restaurant on Saturday, good restaurant in Katy. It's not Black owned, so I'm not going to say the name. But I looked at this restaurant and I said, man, I feel like I could sit here with my family and we could just sit here and just be cool all day. Why don't our Black owned restaurants look like this? They're usually smaller. It's a little cramped in there. I feel like I got to eat and get out so the next person can sit down. And I thought about it. And I said, man, overhead, like Najaah said, you got to pay for overhead and all that. So you may not be able to have the size of building that you want. And I said, why is that? Okay, maybe we go to the bank, we try to get a bank loan for our business, but we get denied for the type of loan that we need. And I said, man, as Black people, if we spend trillions of dollars on retail, and we just spend trillions of dollars elsewhere, why can't I have Najaah's back when she needs a loan? Why does she have to go to the bank and get denied from these people when there's millions of other people who look like me, and some of them who think like me, who should have her back? To where if the bank denies her, as a collective, we can say, nah, Najaah, you ain't got to worry about them. What you need, 15,000? Let us just see the business plan. Let us see how you gonna move with that, and we got you. I'm gonna put in 100. Jarvis gonna put in 100. This man over here, who's a little more fortunate, he gonna put in 500. This brother over here or sister over here, she gonna put in 1,000, and we all gonna come together as a collective. We gonna get this bread, and we gonna fund you. But at the same time, we gonna hold you accountable. Mm-hmm. But you're gonna know that you can count on us, and that's the solution I came to, man. It's just being repetitive. Go ahead, Najaah.
Well, let me tell you this. What you said is absolutely 100% spot on. So I was listening to New York Times. They have a podcast, and they had a Sunday read, is what they called it. And so the focus on the Sunday read was on this specific Korean actor. And y'all seen The Walking Dead before?
I heard of it, yeah.
Okay, so on The Walking Dead, there's this Asian guy. He was the main character. His name was Glenn. And so he's a Korean American actor. And so the New York Times was interviewing him about his journey. His family came from Korea when he was, probably 5 or 6 years old. He didn't know the language, and so he's talking to the interviewer about it or whatever. In the whole interview, the whole only part of this interview that struck my soul, Korea, they bring their people over. People come over, right? They are so supported as a collective, as a community. So everybody goes to the same everything. So when you come over, you join the church, and they ask you, what type of business do you want? You choose hair supply, you choose nails, or you choose a grocery store. Or a convenience store. And those are your choices. You are shown that it's going to be in a bad neighborhood, in a bad Black neighborhood, is where you're going to set up. Mm-hmm. They already got it together. And then they already got your suppliers together. Mm-hmm. Because all the hair industry is all Korean, right? So it's all Asian. Mm-hmm. So they're not really giving nobody else them deals, but they own people. So they fully fund your store. They fully fund your nail shop, whatever. And then the church funds it. You get your loan from them. And then the church members go and work in your business for free. So your business gets up and running and off the ground or whatever. Once you up and running and off the ground, you funnel the money back into the church, and then they set up the next family for their business. They ain't got to worry about nothing. You're not worried about capital. You ain't worried about inventory. You ain't worried about who gonna work in your store. You ain't worried about none of this. The blueprint is already set. It's a plug and play. They got their own money. They ain't going to Bank of America and begging them for $25,000. I mean, can I be just real with y'all? As a business owner, if you go into the bank begging them for $25,000, they know you ain't about to do nothing. You ain't serious. Why am I even talking to you for $25,000? I'm trying to get a 1.5 at the bank. No, you serious. Have your blueprint, but we're so scared because we like, okay, maybe they'll give me this 50,000, whatever. Like, no, that's not what you do. But anyway, the blueprint is set. So it's exactly what you just said, Chris. It's exactly what you just said. Everybody put their money into this one thing that is already together. They already got their own funding. I don't need a credit score and all this other stuff and my firstborn and whatever. Then you already got built-in staffing.
That's crazy.
Everybody works there for free. You see what I'm saying? But as a child, he saw this, right? So he already knew, like, this is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
This is how it goes. He was like, it wasn't until an adult that he figured out, like, his people was like, he felt ashamed because they was playing on the ignorance of the Black community. But you know what I'm saying? It was a whole thing. But really the point is that they group economics is tight. It's tight, man. It's strong. Like, really. And I ain't even mad at them for it. I love that about them. They give you the blueprint. Why can't we just do
it? Did he specifically say that they will put the businesses in the Black neighborhoods?
That's what the New York Times reporter. He's also Korean.
So I mean, that just shows you we're pawns in their overall scheme.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Have been for years.
Yep. And as long as we keep supporting them, it is what it is.
My daughter going to iTeachDrive, man.
Right. All right, Najaah, tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me at iTeachDrive.com. So that is iTeach, TEACH, Drive, DRIVE.com. I also have Instagram at iTeachDrive.com. I got Facebook at iTeachDrive.com. Or if you want to holler at me on some other stuff like investments or buying back the block or getting this group economics together, you can find me on Instagram at CNAJAAH.
That's what's up. Chris.
Hey, man, y'all go support my website, breadtucklegacy.com. Follow me on Instagram, bread_tuck_legacy. But I'm going to be all right, whether y'all follow me or not, because I'm a hustler. I'm going to figure it out. But what I want to say before we go, Najaah, I know that you get our kids and you like, hey, if you ain't got $25, if you got $25 a month, pay that and we'll figure it out. I want to sponsor one child, to go to the driving school for you. Of course, they got to be Black, and I know that you're going to handle that. But I want to sponsor one child, who's less fortunate, who needs to do this driving school so that, maybe they can help take care of their family or whatever the case may be. But I want to sponsor one of our kids to go to your driving school. And I'll do more as things go on. Let me see how this first one feel real quick. But we gonna start from there though.
Okay, that's perfect. Well, what I'll do is I'll reach out to you because I actually have a event at Denver Harbor. It's a Zoom event. We can't do it in person this year, but I don't know if you know where Denver Harbor is, but that's a really less fortunate community. So I do an event with them every year. Just kind of try to help talk them through driver's education. These are kids who kind of got off track and got in trouble. And so they're going to like this alternative school education situation in hopes to get back into regular school. So a lot of these are older students. They may be 18 and still in the 10th grade. You know what I'm saying? But they driving, they got grown up responsibilities, but they don't have the credentials. So I'll get with you. I'm going to get with the lady on that program and see if she got a shining star that might need some help. And then I'll connect and then we'll go from there.
Bet that's going to work.
All right.
That's what's up. All right. And as always, you can catch me at jarvissam.com or you can catch me on Instagram, jarvissam_, or also follow the Jarvis Sam Show on Instagram. You can catch this podcast and every other podcast. We're on iTunes. We're on Spotify and, of course, on the website. Najaah, thank you so much for being on today and sharing your journey and all your insight and everything. Thoroughly enjoyed it. folks, we'll catch y'all next week.
Yeah, man.
All right. Thank you.